This is Pete Moore at Halo Talks NYC. I have the pleasure of having a good friend of mine for many, many years, Jeff Stokes here from HYPOXI USA, direct from Scottsdale, Arizona, a place I used to live for a couple of short years. And I want to welcome Jeff to New York City and to the show.
Excited to be here, and it's called Hotsdale.
Hotsdale now, huh? Well, somebody showed me a location the other day in downtown Brooklyn. They say, yo, have you checked out this place in Dobro? I'm like, what is Dobro? They're like, downtown Brooklyn. I'm like, come on.
Oh, no.
Come on. Anyway, so from Hotsdale, Arizona, Jeff and I have known each other for several years. Why don't you give your background in the health club sector and how you've gravitated towards the Halo amenity business and what you're doing now at HYPOXI, so we can make sure all of our health club clients start to put HYPOXI machines in their locations like I've been telling them to do for 18 months.
I like it. It's a great place to start. But yeah, man, I've been in the business for a while. We've known each other and crossed paths for several times, I think now. And but I started back in the day when it was called Holiday Spas. Remember that?
That's way back, man.
Way back. Health and Tennis Corporation. In fact, Don Wildman, I think, just passed away recently. Great guy. Yeah, great guy and great mentor. But, you know, right out of college back in the East Coast, I grew up in D.C., and it was the next best thing for me to do outside of playing maybe a sport. And so getting involved in the health club industry was just a natural transition. And you know, so I worked with some other big brands, you know, then turned into Bally's, God bless them. And, but, you know, in the 80s, they had a good stretch in the early 90s. And then had a really good run, 10 years with Brahm and Lifetime Fitness, and part of that expansion from the Midwest to the West Coast. Worked with Chuck and Dave at Anytime Fitness for a few years, mixed in some franchising.
You got some good name dropping here, baby.
I know,
this
man.
is all blue chip name dropping.
Look at that.
I like it.
And then I met Greg Oliver, and, you know, so we launched HYPOXI here in North America about 2.5, 3 years ago, and it's been great opportunity.
Well, let's give a shout out to Greg. I hope he's doing well, and he's on his spirulina, keeping him active and sick free, because that guy just spirulinas me up.
It's unbelievable. So. I mean, I don't know what continent he's on at any given day. So great guy, as you know, and he's been doing some good stuff over there in Australia.
Yeah. So I think what's the best part of you being in your position now is that you've been an operator. You've been inside the clubs. You understand the behavior, the psychology. So just to start off here, why don't you talk about what HYPOXI's products are, how their success has been in the international markets, and, you know, why you decided to hop on this train and really try and pressurize the U.S. market with these awesome technology. Yeah,
no, it's great because it is a little different. You know, when I took on this opportunity a few years ago, it is a little bit of a different path, different lane, and but that's what I kind of liked about it. So HYPOXI, first of all, is there are 4 devices that have been around for quite some time. So they're manufactured in Salzburg, Austria. Great place to have to visit once a year. Love it.
Been there.
And it's distributed in 50 countries around the world. So it's been around, but it's kind of backdoored into the U.S. And so we got our hands around it. And what I liked is that there's a big opportunity out there for people that either, you know, don't like traditional exercise, or maybe they're intimidated to go to a health club. And I saw it all the time when I operated clubs. You know, how do you get that deconditioned market in your business? Mm-hmm. And then the other part are people that just can't, whether they have a chronic disease or maybe it's a health issue. And so what I saw is that side of the industry is that HYPOXI is a low impact modality. 99% of the population can get in a HYPOXI device and be able to benefit from it. And so it really was about positioning and identifying the target audience and getting it out in the U.S. And so it's been around a long time. There's 4 devices. It's a training method, and it's a little unique, but it's kind of fitting into this. I'm going to say at least once today.
Yeah, go ahead.
The holistic wellness space.
We will not edit that, just for the record here. Holistic wellness, previously known as holistic wellness, future known as Halo amenity sector.
There you go.
So just so people understand, and obviously there'll be pictures on the site and a link to HYPOXI, but you're basically using compression technology, and you're using. What else? What are some of our other good buzzwords to talk about how the technology works to a consumer, and what kind of results do they get?
Yeah, absolutely. So the patents on the product is based on being able to use a low impact modality with vacuum end compression. So there's no other device out there globally that can use vacuum end compression with a low impact modality. And what really the science is behind it, you know, Pete, is if you can manipulate the blood flow into the stubborn fat, and of course you have to have a nutrition platform. So there's a pre and a post nutrition coaching program teaching people kind of what to eat and when to eat it. We can manipulate the metabolizing of the fat. And so that's really what hypoxia is about. It's using compression and vacuum to push and pull, and it's been around for a long time. That's massage and cupping, combined with doing it on a regular basis 2 to 3 times per week for 12, 24 sessions. And we clean up their diet. So it's a fantastic platform. But again, because it's low impact, that's where the key is. And a lot of people that don't appeal to traditional exercise can come see HYPOXI.
And there's obviously a prototype location in Scottsdale. You want to just talk about, what actually you're putting a suit on and it's basically compressing you and how the blood flow works?
Yeah, so there's 2 devices that I guess the best analogy to use is they're pods, and pods are kind of in right now anyway. Mm-hmm. And so inside the pod, we are able to completely create a vacuum chamber. And so you're pedaling on a bike. So think of a recumbent bike, your traditional recumbent bike. You go to a health club.
Close your eyes and think about this. Go ahead.
There you go. Keep going. And you're in a pod, and it's from waist down. So we completely create an airtight vacuum, but you're pedaling at a low impact modality, and for 30 minutes, everything in your lower body is getting improved in your circulation and manipulating the blood flow into the stubborn fat. And that's it. That's the simplicity of HYPOXI. The other device is a passive device. So that's just a 20 to 30 minute, really a massage. And the whole point there is improve circulation, help with cellulite reduction, help drain the lymphatic system, which is huge now with weight loss. And that doesn't require any movement at all. And then we have a 4th device, which is the one I think you're referring to. It's like a wetsuit. So it's, you got to get the video up on the website to take a look at it. Mm-hmm. But it really manipulates the fat around the stomach and the flanks. And it's on a treadmill. So you're doing 30 minutes of activity while you're doing the vacuum. So unique, very effective when they follow the platforms. You'll see a lot of before and afters all over the website globally. Mm-hmm. It's been in Australia for about 10 years, so it's extremely successful down there. They have about 75 locations, in a country the size of Texas, and you'll see it in Vogue magazine, Cosmopolitan, Women's Fitness. So it's a very well-known fitness brand, and it really is at the hybrid of fitness and beauty.
Mm-hmm. So when you take a look at bringing this machine to the U.S., setting up the prototype, determining that the best way to do this is to put this inside of someone else's health club or spa, talk about, your patience and how long it takes to get a product to market and to get commercialized. Because I think a lot of people that are listening to this might think, okay, we're just going to start this up and it's going to be the next, Peloton bike. And the reality is, that it takes a while to convince an operator that, here's a revenue opportunity. There's obviously a lease or a purchase required. There's education, there's training. So one is to preach patience to people that are launching new companies, but also, what it takes and what the sales cycle is and, the psychology of people saying, I'm not just a health club, but I'm basically trying to get people results. If I start with the results, then I need the equipment and the technology to deliver that.
Yeah. We've learned a lot. So thanks for kind of setting that up, because the first couple years were really based on creating a proof of concept here in the U.S. So no matter what happens in Europe or happens in Australia, we needed to show that this product works in the U.S. and how we are going to, get the messaging out there. The second is, we thought maybe we could package this into a franchise and be a standalone business and be kind of the next Orange Theory, where they're kind of the high impact HIIT training model and we're the low impact and kind of the opposite. In fact, we've got an Orange Theory and a Cycle Bar in the same plaza that we have our HYPOXI in Scottsdale. What we found through that process, and like you said, it's not always easy to get a product to market, is that most of our customers just wanted the devices. They didn't want a prepackaged franchise or business ready to roll. And that's when things started taking off. So our devices now can be found in med spas, weight loss centers, chiropractic offices, of course, health clubs. And then now there's an emerging trend of body contouring, body shaping studios that aren't necessarily medically based. They're not your high-end med spa. And so we're getting a lot of movement there as well. So our products really can go into any 4 of those different lanes.
What I find interesting is when we first talked about this, and you launched the studio how many years ago?
So we just celebrated our 3rd year anniversary in Scottsdale. Yep.
Yeah. So I've known about HYPOXI for 3.5 years now. I've also known about Cool Sculpting for probably about the same amount of time. And it hasn't been until the last couple of months that Cool Sculpting is now running commercials on cable, that I'm seeing it on social media, that people that are in the industry are talking about these things. So how has the proliferation of people understanding the market kind of helped you get to market and be able to use these other modalities to say, oh, it's similar to this, however, it is better because of X, Y, Z?
Yeah, no, I think it's helped open up the space, to be quite honest. I mean, I always refer to Cool Sculpting because it's become a brand. It's
right.
like Coke or Kleenex. And so it really has been a term. And they've spent quite a bit of money advertising non-invasive targeting of stubborn fat.
Right.
And if you go back 4 or 5 years, that market, that space didn't really exist. And but the technologies are getting better, and people are getting great results. And initially I thought about, all right, am I competing in that space? But what we've really learned in the last probably 6 months, Pete, is that we actually improve and expedite those results. So if a med spa, we have a location in Houston that is doing this, they're selling the non-invasive procedures in the med spa space, and then there's a HYPOXI right next door as part of the business, and they package HYPOXI as part of a post-therapy treatment. So one of the things when you're trying to kill a fat cell, and I don't want to get too much into the science, non-invasively, not through exercise and diet, is it's got to get diverse out of the system, so lymphatic system, and HYPOXI helps with that. So by doing the low-impact modality and helping drain the lymphatic system, we're able to expedite those targeted fat-burning technologies. And so you're absolutely right. Cool Sculpting has kind of opened up this whole non-invasive body-shaping business,
right.
And it's growing quickly, and we fit right in there.
Yeah, so... I probably should have known this a long time ago, but when I don't understand the technology, I Google it as quickly as possible. And I don't think people realize that when you squeeze out the fat cells, you basically, part of that is a gas that you actually breathe out, and part of it, gets extracted through your regular system.
Correct.
So anything you could do related to expediting that from happening, getting it out of your lymphatic system is that combination needs to happen. It's not just going to go away on its own, or just by not eating for a couple of days.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people don't even understand that. Yeah. So they come in, they just want to get rid of the fat, and I always say, there's going to be good, better, best situations. So people that follow the protocol and the post treatment are going to get the best results. So even Cool Sculpting, if you look out there, there's unhappy customers, but they have created a market where, hey, I can go in 2 or 3, sessions, and I'm going to reduce my size around my waist or my hips or my thighs.
Right. Talk about the people that are using this, postnatal, and how HYPOXI has kind of expedited the getting back into prime form after you have a baby.
Well, look, I think the fitness industry is always focused on that market as well. But, the new mom is an audience for us. And we're in that space where maybe you think about a mommy makeover, right? And so that's invasive. You're thinking about, I'm going to do some plastic surgery, go to the med spa and have that done. But there's a large percentage out there that don't want to do that. They want to try something maybe a little bit more natural.
Sure.
And so that's a huge audience for us. The other one, bride-to-be, when there's a specific date and you want to get ready for something, we also call it red carpet ready. So HYPOXI works fantastic. If we've got somebody that's motivated and they've got a month or less to get ready for, we can drop a dress size with minimal effort on their part, which is the best part. It's the low impact.
Got it. I don't have any red carpet ready events coming up.
Yeah, I know you do.
Maybe I can manufacture one or something. Or maybe you can invite me to one of your
we can get
galas
something
or something
going.
down in Hotzdale.
Yeah.
So, talk about what the leasing program looks like and how you go to market. And, originally when we talked about this, it was a pretty big purchase, and upfront CapEx risk, not necessarily risk, but an investment with a new technology. So, as I say a lot, experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. So now the market's opened up.
Yep.
People understand the technology. You got Cool Sculpting and some of these other category players that are really educating and pressurizing the market positively. So you don't have to go in there and necessarily start from scratch of hey, let me tell you about this awesome technology, because there are similar ones out there. So talk about if all the health club operators that are listening here and want to create new revenue streams from square footage and from their 500 to 1,000 people that are coming in a day, what's the program? Assume I'm a preferred price client, and tell me what that looks like and how the education works. How quickly can I get up and running? And, without breaking any franchising or licensing rules, what does a revenue model look like?
Yeah, so we've got a great model to use, which is in Australia. So Greg Oliver and FLG, Good Life and Fitness First, have been doing this now for about 3 or 4 years. And what Greg looked at is underutilized space in their club and how can I maximize my revenue per square foot and get a different customer in. So if you think about it as a health club operator, you're getting this other part of the population that might not traditionally come in off your advertising. So set up a separate digital storefront. You're out there trying to grab people looking for a non-invasive way to work on fat. You really only need 250 square feet, up to 500, depending on how many devices. We've got a great lease program, so if it's capital that's you're light on, we've got a way to get into a device pretty easily. And then my entire team, we've got all the support now. So one of the things we've learned and been able to build is a complete support team from marketing, branding, pricing, sales, all the pieces to the business like a franchise. So we can really plug and play these things into a health club pretty quickly, in which we are right now. What Greg has found and what's been brilliant is getting the customer in for the HYPOXI business. They're buying 12, 24, 36 sessions. They get a free pass to the club while they're going through HYPOXI. And then that lures them in. So they end up closing about 60, 70% of those non-members into members. Mm-hmm. So it's actually a feeder system into their business. And then they get them 2 or 3 times. So, and here's the other thing too. It doesn't cannibalize personal training. It's a different customer. So a lot of times what they're seeing is they come in for HYPOXI, they join the club, maybe they go back a second time for HYPOXI. Now they're getting a little bit more comfortable with their body. And now they go try personal training, and they're getting creative too. So they're packaging, personal training sessions into HYPOXI, and there's a lot of creative things that you can do to package it. But yeah.
And the clubs that are testing this out and that are in full launch right now, what's the type of employee and do they need any kind of certification? What kind of staff member is responsible for this?
So usually the club already has that person in-house. So it could be somebody with a nutrition background that does some nutrition coaching. It could be a personal trainer. It could be a yoga instructor. It could be a front desk girl, to be quite honest. Okay. It's somebody that you'll get the certification through HYPOXI. So it's not out there on the general market. That's part of our license program where we do all the training and education. And quite simply, it's learning how to use the devices and then to really coach the person on the nutrition component. But yeah, that's never an issue because most clubs are going to have that person. Here's the other great thing, Pete, too, is it's not where personal training and massage therapy, you have a cost per treatment from that massage therapist and that trainer. HYPOXI, you could have one person that's managing 2, 3, 4 devices. Mm-hmm. So the margin,
cool sculpting also, like they charge you a per use.
Correct.
So that could be a pretty hefty bill.
And that's it's becoming a challenge for people. They're still making money, but it's quite a percentage of each session. Where here you might sell a package and have 3 people and 100% occupancy on your devices, and you've only got one person that you're paying maybe $12-15 an hour plus commissions.
And is there a as these people are going through, if I'm on the machine that's the low impact cycling, do I need to be coached or I just kind of I'm doing it? It's not like I'm doing tap backs or what am I doing?
The tap back, what's that?
You ever do Soul Cycle?
Got you. Yeah. The different movements when you're doing a cycle class. Yeah. You're kind of locked in. No, the good news with this,
an instructor.
Most of the time is they're either on their phone, they're looking at a magazine because it's again quite the opposite of a Soul Cycle where you're going in. There's a lot of energy and a lot of music. This is kind of more on the spa side. Mm-hmm. So when you come into the HYPOXI area, when it's in a health club, even in Australia and the few we have here in the States, it's almost like walking into that spa component, that personal training component. But to answer your question, no, you put the person on the machine and then the coach can go off and talk to another client. They can put another person in another machine. Mm-hmm. It's really putting them off and on. And then, you chat with them while they're on the devices, but there's no labor-intensive reason to be there the entire 30 minutes.
Gotcha. Last question related to the deployment here. Do y'all give out a lot of marketing materials and some of to help people on the lead generation and whether it's direct mail or email drip or how do you help people get the traffic here? Yeah,
no, great. And one of the things that again we've learned and we happened to put together because initially we were going to launch as a franchise is that whole component to the business. So when you get a license with HYPOXI, you get all the branding material. You get all the marketing materials as well, the treatment cards, everything to run that business. In addition to some hands-on training, we'll come out to the location and do a 2-day training intensive. But the other thing is, and I'll give them a little prop here, but I work with a group called Loud Rumor out of Scottsdale. I don't know if you've had them on the show or...
I have not.
Yeah, and so they do our digital marketing, but they know our brand now pretty well. So we're generating quite a few leads. And our new licensees, if they want to just plug and play, we've already got that relationship set up, which is nice.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So if I was to sign up today, get 4 devices, how long would it take me from getting my people trained to actually, having people getting results?
Yeah, so we sold some devices today actually, so they'll be up and running by January. So by the time we ship and install the devices, have them come to Scottsdale for a training, us go out there to do the training. It's usually in a 30-day window, so we're pretty quick now. We have inventory here in the U.S. and we get these things turned around pretty quick now.
That's great.
Yeah.
So where do you see this going besides just health clubs? Do you see fitness studios coming on board? Do you see a lot of day spas? Do you see like the hotel sector starting to, creep into like the amenities with give us a vision of what the future looks like, not just for, HYPOXI, but just in general for the med spa and for all these halo amenities?
Yeah, it's been pretty whirlwind the last 60 days of just how many people are either in or want to get into this space. And so there's a lot of doctors out there that we're talking to and helping on just business planning and putting together, several different modalities, infrared heat, cryo, salt, all these things kind of all go together, which is kind of nice, vibration training. And so, always the health clubs, I think there's a great solution. If somebody's got underutilized space, you got to consider something like HYPOXI because it brings in a different customer and it can also be a great profit center. So you look at 250 to 500 square feet, and in Australia, it's their second most profitable profit center. So
like a revenue per square foot basis.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And then I think the next one is just this emerging body contouring, body shaping space. Weight loss centers have contacted us, and I'll throw hotels in there and resorts because resort travel and healthy living resort travel is starting to increase, and we're starting to get some calls. They want to differentiate themselves with some type of experience that is different than traditional yoga or Pilates. Mm-hmm. So we're having some preliminary conversations, but there's a place in Portugal that is been part of HYPOXI family for 10 years, and they have marketed themselves as kind of a celebrity retreat detox center, and HYPOXI is a center point to that. And there's also a chronic fat disorder out there called lymphedema. And so they also now have focused on women that want to come in for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, and focus on their chronic fat disorder, or again, just drop a dress size and get ready for a red carpet event. So that's going to be an exciting opportunity for us because I see that happening in the U.S. as well.
That sounds great. Well, thanks for coming in. We're excited to see all the success. We know you've planned for the success, so now it's nice to have it as actually happening.
Yeah.
And shout out to our boy Greg Oliver and his continued growth. Keep us posted on new acquisitions that you're making on a monthly basis, and look forward to trying to help out and get more HYPOXIs in more locations and make sure more people get results, which is what we're doing here. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. This is an awesome platform. You guys do a great job. And, for us, it's really just about delivering another opportunity in the fitness industry to differentiate yourself. And, we've got quite a few, I think, that you'll see pop up here in the next 30, 60 days.
So great. Well, go to the website.
HYPOXIbody.com.
And buy a machine, lease a machine, help people get results, make some money in the process, and let's keep people feeling healthy and looking good.
Awesome. Thanks, Pete. Appreciate it.
Awesome.